her trembling hands pressed against his chest. No pulse, no help in sight. Just a homeless girl in rags, kneeling beside a dying man on a cold, rain-soaked sidewalk. People passed without looking. One even laughed. "She's probably stealing from him," someone whispered. The man's expensive suit made him untouchable, and her torn blanket made her invisible. But what they didn't know was this moment would change both their lives forever. In 7 minutes, the truth about who he really was and what he'd do next would leave the whole city speechless. Have you ever helped someone who didn't even see your worth? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. The night was colder than usual, the kind that cuts through skin and seeps into the bones. Under a flickering streetlight, Maya huddled beneath an old blanket behind a diner's dumpster. At 16, she had already learned that life didn't care about fairness. Each night was a battle for warmth, for food, for a reason to keep going. Her cardboard box, patched with tape, was the only home she knew. She wasn't always homeless. Just a year ago, she had dreams of finishing school, of becoming a nurse like her mother once was. But after her mother's sudden death, the foster homes never felt safe. Too many rules, too many cruel whispers about that poor black girl. So she ran. And the streets, as brutal as they were, felt freer than the judgmental eyes that had followed her everywhere. Maya had learned to blend into the background, to move quietly, to trust no one. Every day she'd visit the park near the business district, collecting bottles and spare coins. The same faces passed her daily, some pretending not to see her, others clutching their purses tighter as she walked by. She'd gotten used to it. The looks, the silence, the world's indifference. That night, though, something broke the pattern. As she searched for recyclables near a luxury hotel's back alley, she noticed a man slumped beside a black car. At first, she thought he was drunk, another rich guy sleeping off his problems. But when she saw his pale skin and blue lips, her instincts screamed otherwise. Maya dropped her bag and rushed to him, her heart pounding. His eyes were half open, unfocused. His hands trembled and his breathing was shallow. There was no one around, no security, no witnesses. Just her. She could have walked away. Most people would have, but she didn't. Something inside her, something human, refused to ignore a life fading before her eyes. What would you do if you were in Maya's place that night? Stay safe, or take the risk to save a stranger? The man's pulse was faint, barely there. Maya pressed her fingers against his neck again, whispering to herself, trying to remember what she'd seen her mom do years ago. She tilted his head back, started chest compressions, counting under her breath. Her arms shook, but she didn't stop. The sound of rain drowned everything else, except her desperate rhythm. Push, breathe, push, breathe. Minutes dragged like hours. Her thin clothes clung to her skin, soaked through. The alley smelled of gasoline and trash, but all she could focus on was his still face. Then he coughed. Once, twice, weak but alive. Maya gasped, relief flooding her chest. She grabbed an empty bottle nearby, splashed his face with water. His eyes flickered open, unfocused and dazed. He tried to speak, but only air came out. She looked around. Still no one. So she dragged him toward the side of the building, under the awning. He was heavy, far too heavy for her frail frame, but she kept going, one shaky pull at a time. Her breath came fast, her fingers numb. "You're gonna be okay," she murmured, even though she wasn't sure. When the ambulance finally arrived, called by a hotel worker who had seen the scene from afar, Maya stepped back, trying to disappear. The paramedics rushed to the man, cutting open his shirt, shouting codes. She stayed in the shadows, shivering, her body tense. One of the guards spotted her. "Hey, you!" His voice was sharp, accusing. "What are you doing here? Did you do this to him?" Maya froze. Her voice cracked. "No, I helped him, but they didn't listen." 2 guards surrounded her. Their flashlights hit her face, their expressions full of disgust. "You expect us to believe that? Look at her, she's homeless. Probably tried to rob him." The words hit like stones. Maya felt the familiar sting, racism wrapped in authority. No one cared what she said. They had already decided who she was. One guard yanked the blanket from her shoulders, revealing her empty hands, trembling. "Where's his wallet?" he barked. "I didn't take anything," she whispered. "Sure," he muttered, waving her off. "Wait till the cops come." As the ambulance pulled away with the man, Maya was left under the harsh glare of flashing lights, surrounded by people who looked at her like she was dirt. A police cruiser pulled up moments later. An officer stepped out, tall, white, stone-faced. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask for her name. He just said, "Turn around." Her stomach dropped. The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into her skin. She tried to explain, but her words were drowned by the radio chatter and the crackle of thunder overhead. Passers-by stopped to stare, some taking pictures. She wanted to scream that she had saved a life, that she wasn't a thief, just a girl trying to help. But no one believed her. Not one person spoke up. Hours later at the station, they kept her in a small holding cell, wet, hungry, and scared. They didn't even let her make a call. The officer told her she'd stolen from a dying man. She cried until there were no tears left. And somewhere across the city, in a hospital bed, the man she saved was waking up, completely unaware that the girl who had given him a second chance at life was being treated like a criminal for it. The sound of the cell door creaking open jolted Maya awake. Her body ached from the cold bench, her eyes red from crying. A different officer stood there now, a woman holding a clipboard. "You're being released," she said flatly. No explanation, no apology. Just those words. Maya stumbled out, barefoot and shivering. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed but still unkind. Outside, a sleek black car idled by the curb. The same kind she'd seen in the alley. Her heart skipped. Two men in suits stepped out, their expressions unreadable. "Maya?" one asked. She froze. How did they know her name? Before she could run, the back door opened. The man she had saved, now dressed, clean but pale, stepped out slowly, leaning on a cane. His eyes found hers, soft but filled with something heavy. Guilt. He spoke quietly, almost ashamed. "You saved my life." Maya's mouth opened, but no words came. She expected anger, disbelief, anything but kindness. He took a shaky breath. "They told me a homeless girl was arrested." I couldn't believe it. I had to see for myself. The officers who had handcuffed her stood nearby, suddenly silent, their arrogance melting away. The man turned toward them, his tone sharp now. "You accused the only person who helped me?" No one answered. Then, the moment that silenced the street, he removed his jacket and wrapped it around Maya's shoulders. Cameras flashed. Reporters who had followed him since his hospital discharge caught every second. It turned out he wasn't just a wealthy man. He was Harold Langston, a billionaire investor, owner of multiple charities, and one of the city's most powerful figures. The same people who had mocked Maya were now whispering in awe, too late to hide their shame. He turned back to her. "Come with me. I owe you more than I can ever repay," the crowd gasped. But Maya hesitated, her eyes darting to the officers who had treated her like a criminal. She didn't want fame or favors, just justice. "Why me?" she finally asked, her voice shaking. "Because you saw a human being," Harold said softly, "when everyone else saw nothing." The reporters swarmed closer. Flashbulbs popped like fireworks. The same society that had looked down on her now wanted her story. What do you think he'll do next, to repay the girl the world had thrown away? In the days that followed, Maya's story spread like wildfire. Headlines called her the homeless hero. News outlets replayed the footage of Harold Langston, the billionaire, wrapping his coat around a girl everyone had ignored. But beneath the praise, the truth burned deeper, the way people had looked at her before the cameras showed up. The way they had assumed guilt simply because of her skin, her clothes, her poverty. Harold visited her every day after that. He learned about her mother, her dreams, the nights she had spent alone on the streets. He didn't just thank her, he took responsibility. He used his influence to file formal complaints against the officers who had arrested her without cause. Within weeks, they were suspended, but Maya didn't celebrate. Justice, she realized, wasn't about revenge, it was about being seen. Harold offered her a home first, then education. She hesitated at every step, unsure if she could trust a world that had once turned its back on her. But Harold's actions spoke louder than his wealth. He created a foundation in her mother's name, a shelter for homeless youth of color, a place where no one would be dismissed or profiled for the way they looked. When Maya stood on the stage at the grand opening, her voice trembled, but her message was clear. People looked away when I was cold, hungry, invisible. But one man didn't. And that's all it takes. One person to see another as human. The crowd stood in silence, tears in their eyes. Cameras rolled, but Maya wasn't a headline. She was a symbol of compassion's power. Once called homeless and hopeless, she now had a name, a purpose, and a future. Sometimes the people we overlook hold the power to change everything.